Hello friends, in this session we are going to study about various types of adaptations of cross-pollination. In adaptations of cross-pollination we are going to study about various types of devices that your self-pollinating flowers are developed to prevent your self-pollination and adapt your cross-pollination. So as the term adaptation of cross-pollination included these types of some of your subheadings. That means these are the some of your adaptations which are adapted by your cross-pollinating flowers. So our first adaptation is unisexuality and commonly known as your dichogamy. The term unisexuality, uni means single and sexuality means containing a single sex, and otherwise known as your dichogamy. Flowers are unisexual, that means the flower containing a single sex organ. That means if a male flower is there, that means whole the plant is containing male flower, and if the female flower is there, then whole the plant containing a female flower. That means the plants, that means a single flower contain all the staminate or all the pistillate. That means either staminate is there, either pistillate is there. And most common example is your castor, mulberry and papaya, and I think papaya is a most common example for all the students. And next one is your monosus condition. In monosus condition, plant bears both the sex organ. That means in a single flower there is a male flower and also a female flower, but not both the flowers, that means not both the male and female flowers in a single one. That means the flower are not bisexual, unisexual flowers, but both the flowers are present in a single plant. That means there is a 50% chance of your self-pollination and 50% chance of your cross-pollination. So plants bear both the sex organs separately. That means these types of sex organs are present separately. That means staminate and pistillate conditions are present separately. So there is a 50% chance of your self-pollination and 50% chance of your cross-pollination. Nextly, it contains a number of examples, and the most common example is your cucumber, pumpkin or maize. Maize is a very common example. Next one is your Diocese condition. In Diocese condition, male and female flower are born in different plants. That means a single flower, a single plant containing all the male flower and single plant containing all the female flower, just like your previous unisexuality condition. As I told you previously that mostly self-pollination occur in bisexual flowers, and it is clear to all of you that the plant containing maybe your male flowers, maybe your female flowers, but not the both, because the point is male and female flowers are born in different plants. That means male flower is present differently or female flower is present differently. So this condition mostly developed in your cross-pollination, that means is adapted your cross-pollination. So in Diocese condition, most examples, that most common example is your papaya, nextly your castor, mulberry, these are some of your examples. Nextly, self-sterility. The term told you that the flower, that means the flower itself sterile. That means the pollen grains are not fertilized in the same stamen. That means bisexual conditions are not occur over here. So in some plants, the pollens of the flower have no fertilizing effect. That means the fertilizing effect is not takes place on the stigma or the ovule of the same flower. That means there is no fertilization takes place in the same flower's ovule or same flower stigma. That means it may be fertilize other flower stigma of same species but not in that flower. So it is also a condition of your cross-pollination. So the sterility condition is also one of your adaptations of your cross-pollination, and most common example is your Solarum family and brinjal and potato. That means the names examples, brinjal is a common example and potato is a common example. Nextly, dichogamy. In dichogamy condition, that means your androecium and gynoecium mature at different times. That means the time of development of your androecium and gynoecium not takes place equally. That means equally the two sex organs are not developed. That means someone is developed first earlier and later someone is developed. That means there is a gap between your male sex organ and female sex organ. According to this, it is of two types. That means according to the developmental condition, it is of two types. One is your protoandry condition, another one is your protogyny condition. This is your protogyny condition and protoandry condition. Protoandry condition, just split the term first and concept will be clear to all of you. Protoandry, proto means your initial stage, means your starting stage, and andry means your androecium. That means in initial stage androecium is developed. That means your anther is developed first. Androecium means your male sex organ, your anther, and anther mature earlier than the carpels. That means carpel is your last and first is your anther. And the term told you that protoandry, proto means your initial stage, andry means your androecium. Initially androecium is developed. That means at first androecium is developed. So your anther mature earlier than the carpels. And the most common example is your cotton, lady's finger, that means your okra and sunflower. Next one is your protogyny. Proto means your first stage, that means your initial stage. Gyny means your gynoecium and gynoecium means your carpel. So carpel mature earlier than the anther. That means carpel matures first. Here the anther matures first, here the carpel matures first. That means the opposite one is later. That means mature earlier than the anther. That means carpel mature earlier and lastly anther is developed. So mustard, banyan and rose, these are some of your common examples. How it is, your question is how it is cross pollination, how it promote cross pollination. Obviously it promote cross pollination because protoandry condition anther is mature but its carpel is not mature. That means anther is bound to give their pollen grains a number of agents. So the anther is developed first, so their pollen grains are transferred. When the carpel is developed, anther is not developed in that condition. That means it is already mature and some days are already passed over here. So the timing, that means there is not equally of timing it takes place. That means both the sex organs are developed in a single time. So there must be prevent the self pollination and it adapt the cross pollination in both the cases, in protoandry condition, in protogyny condition one. Next one is your hercogamy condition. In hercogamy condition, both, that means in some bisexual flowers, both the flowers of their some physical various. That means in some bisexual flowers, you may consider a number of bisexual flowers as we studied these things. That means these all are of examples of your bisexual flowers. So in hercogamy conditions also, in some bisexual flowers there is some physical barriers between anther and stigma. That means a physical barrier is developed in a bisexual flower. Just have a look over your diagram here. So consider that this is your stigma part and style part over here and ovary over here, and this is your base part, and the term told you that it is a bisexual flower. That means both the whorls are present. That means your female reproductive whorl is present and male reproductive whorl is present, and that means your anther is present over here and stigma is present over here. And it told you that in some bisexual flower, it is a bisexual flower, there is some physical barrier between anther and stigma, and here a physical barrier is present. That means here is your physical barrier in between anther and stigma. Anther and stigma, there is a physical barrier present which prevent the self pollination. So as there is a physical barrier takes place, so the anther is not going to dehiscence over the same flowers, and anther is going to a number of agencies are there. By the agencies it is transferred, and stigma is also prevent the self pollination and adapt the cross pollination. It is one of your hercogamy is also one of your adaptations of your cross pollination, and the most common example is your calotropis. So next one is your heterostyly. In heterostyly condition, that means your Tom told you that heterostyly, that means it contains the style part. That means it must be written over here some of your style part. That means it depends upon the length of your style. So some plants produce bisexual flowers, obviously bisexual flowers where stamens and carpels are different length. That means your stamens and carpels both are in different lengths, where stamens and carpels are different length. That means it depends upon the length of your stamens. You may consider two examples. One is your primrose, another one is your oxalis. In primrose, there are two types of flower. The flowers are mainly divided into two types. In your oxalis, it is of three types of flower. First, consider your primrose. In primrose, two types of flowers are there. One is your pin flower, another one is your thumb flower. In pin flower, the female reproductive ovule, that means the style plus is elongated and the anther part is shorter than. That means it is the long part, it is the short part. That means the female reproductive part is long and the male reproductive part is short, and it is otherwise known as your pin. That means some plants produce bisexual flowers. No doubt it is bisexual flowers where stamens and carpels are different length. Length is different. That means one is long, another one is short. In the next case, the female reproductive, that means here it is short, here it is long. In this case, here it is short and here it is long. In opposite, that means here the female reproductive ovule is long, here the female reproductive ovule is short, here the male reproductive ovule is short, here the male reproductive ovule is long. That means when the pollen grains want to transfer over here, there is no equality condition to transport the pollen grains. So there must be some obstacles. That means if we draw some of your flower over here, if there is a petal over here and over here, it is the upper part, it is the lower part. That means a number of agencies are considered wind pollinating. That means in wind the pollen grains are transferred from the other flowers. That means it promotes the cross pollination. In the other hand, here also if we draw flower over here the male reproductive ovules mature first and female reproductive part are in down part. So male reproductive ovule give the pollen grains to the other pollinating agents. So pollen grains are transported and promote your cross pollination. So in the same case, in primrose two types of flowers are present, and in oxalis three types of flowers are present. One is your pin flower, another one is thumb flower, and the last one is your normal flower. That means in this case, in your pin flower the three types are, one is your pin flower, another one is a thumb flower. In pin flower, the female reproductive ovule is long and male reproductive ovule is short. And in thumb flower, your male reproductive ovule is long, female reproductive ovule is short. And in your normal flower, that means which is present in your oxalis, the number 3 flower, three number of type, both the sex organ, that means male and female, both are in same height. So in these cases, mostly cross pollination is not occur. Sometimes self pollination is occur in some plants, but mostly self pollination, cross pollination is occur over here. And here is some of your adaptations of your cross pollination. I think all these things are crystal clear to all of you. So